Hello, this is Diane and I'm back to show you the recipe book that I mentioned. I showed you the preparation in my last video, and in addition to the supplies that I showed you, I had some rubber stamps, which I don't have them all gathered up to show them to you, but I used some rubber stamps in the book also. Here's the cover. I cut this part out with from my kitchen cartridge for the Cricut, and this part is from Suburbia. And I used a ribbon to tie it shut. I always forget about the closure when I'm making the cover, otherwise I could put the ribbon in between the end paper and the cover, but I always forget, so I just punched out a circle. For the inside of the book, I used a stove that I cut from the Suburbia cartridge. The From My Kitchen cartridge also has a stove, but that one has individual little knobs and lots of little fiddly pieces to use, so I like using this one now. And for in here, I cut a piece of cardstock ledger paper that I can just put like about the book in here. Here's the first page. On the flap, I put one of those 7 Gypsies recipe card things that I showed in my other video, and I paper clipped a couple of recipe cards in there. And this is what I do with the 5x8 manila folder tags that I cut. I decorate them all different ways. Every card is different for every single album. Nothing is the same. And I decorate them and then put the tab on it, and then that goes in the top, in the pocket at the top, which I punched with a circle punch. So on this one, I put scrapbook paper on the back and made a pocket and put some cards in, which I stamped on. Of course, you can put in as many cards as you want, but just keep in mind that it'll get bulky if you put a lot in. And then on this one, I used scraps of scrapbook paper, some washi tape, and I glued down a plain index card and stamped on it, and then washi taped on a decorated index card. This book is intended to be like an heirloom book. I'm not going to have this in my kitchen splattering it and getting it messy. It's going to have the family recipes in it, and then it'll just be in a nice place that people can look at, and then I can leave it for my daughter. She already has all my recipes anyway, but this is just a nice way to keep family recipes. On this side, all I did was put on a sticker with journaling lines on it, and this was cut from the internet. And here's a recipe card that I stamped on. And then on this page, again, a 7 Gypsies tag, a couple more recipe cards, and this is one of the tags that I got at Hobby Lobby that I showed you in my other video. Paper clipped on. I'll do that later. And on this card, I made a pocket out of a tabbed card that I cut from my kitchen. This I printed from the internet and glued it to a recipe card, an index card, and put some stickers on it. And on the back, just a couple scraps of paper. This one actually has old recipes, old yellowed recipes. And this one has a rooster on it, and I happen to have this rooster washi tape, so that worked out really, really well. So when you're decorating your cards, just remember this one didn't get completely covered, the manila shows, and you will have parts of your manila folder that have printing on them. So make sure that when you're covering a card, see if you have cards with the printing that you need to cover. This one has some stickers on it, and this was printed from the internet, and I will put my apple pie recipe on it because I do make a very good apple pie, if I do say so. A lot of people like it, so that recipe is going to go there. Actually, I can't take credit for it. It's my mother's recipe. And this is a scrap of recipe scrapbook paper and some eggs cut from my Cricut. Some stickers, some recipe cards. And for this insert, I did something a little different. I made it into a book. This is a sheet of 10 by 7.5 that I scored so it's a 5-inch across. And then I put on a blue wood grain paper, cut this with the Cricut, and drew some journaling lines on it, and put a piece of Baker twine in there. This was cut from the Cricut, and I put a brad in it. On the back has a recipe card and some washi tape, and on the inside, everything here was cut with the Cricut. I think I need to zoom out a little. There we go. The word whisk, the word stir, and of course a whisk and a spoon, and the tabbed recipe cards. And then this page, this one has room for a lot of recipes. It has a couple stickers on it, and these cards are just layered on there and stuck on with washi tape. The one on the bottom is just adhered down, so I can put a lot of recipes there. I put a sticker on the top card. I had stickers to use this time. Most of my books don't have a lot of stickers. I usually have more things, little things cut with the Cricut that I use, but I had a lot of stickers this time, so that made it easier. A couple of recipe cards. Here's one of the manila tags. I glued a recipe card on there as a pocket. This is cut with a Suburbia Cricut cartridge. And some more cards. Some scrapbook paper to decorate the back. And just a card and washi tape on the back. This is a plain 7 Gypsy card from the stuff I showed you from the other video, and I stamped this with one of my stamp sets. It has a recipe thing on it. And I stamped the word special on the tab. This I printed from the internet, has some ledger on the back. So, along with the recipes, I will be including stories about the recipes. That's what all the journaling areas are about. Any story I have about any of the recipes, where they came from, or any special story about, you know, a tradition with that particular recipe or anything can be journaled about, and that's what will make this book so special. This is from Suburbia cartridge. And here's something I do in every recipe book that I make. I do a rolling pin, and I just glue down the ends so that cards can fit in here. And I put this little circle on here and only glued down the bottom half so that it can be a stopper for the cards. And then just some pattern paper and a recipe card on the back. And here we go. Some Cricut cutouts here. Recipe card printed from the internet. I also glued an index card to the back and filled in with washi tape. Stamped index card. This is just a journaling card that I made with ledger paper, little strips of paper stitched on, and some circles punched out and stuck on there. They can be used for the journaling. And then this mixer was cut with the Cricut. There's a sticker. This was cut with the Cricut, and I put ledger paper on the back for journaling. And this card has 2 recipe cards on it, scrapbook paper in the middle, and some stickers, and a pocket made with that blue wood grain, some stickers, and some cards. And as I said, this paper that I use throughout the book is an old Stampin' Up! That I got on clearance. This is a timer I cut out with my Cricut, and just a plain large index card that I stamped on, and a recipe card. And there's the back. So that's my book. And I try to do a retro look with my books. I like the retro look. But I made a book for my granddaughter. She's 11 now. And we've been cooking together. She likes to bake with me. And we've been baking together since she was about 3. So I made her own book. And it's not retro. It's geared more for a young girl. And in this one, I can also include pictures of her and me baking together, which I think will be really fun. And I'll put stories about how we cook together in this book. So I'll just go through this one real quick. I used Bo Bunny Sweet Tooth papers in it. This is from the Cricut. And instead of a stove on the front of hers, there's this cut from the Bo Bunny paper. And I bought a new recipe box. It takes bigger cards, this size cards. So I'm rewriting my recipes, and so she's getting my old ones with my, with the food stains and everything. I'm going to include those in her book. I haven't begun filling in her book yet. I've just got it put together. So it's pretty much the same thing, except it's got different papers and, oh, something got stuck there. There's a recipe card there, and two of them put together, and I used the smash tape. Says, like it a lot, love it, want it. It's a cute thing for food recipes, and more cards in there. I wrote Monica's favorite on here because it's a no-bake cookie that she absolutely loves. And just cards in there. Oh, and I wanted to make sure I told you, let me get this paper. On this book, I goofed because you have to make sure when you're punching your holes to bind it that you're punching the open side. This one isn't glued together yet like it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be glued here and here. But this edge you don't have to glue because it's going to be bound. On this book, I've got some pages flipped around when I punched, so they're backwards, and I had to adhere the other edge. This was the folded edge. It's supposed to be over here. But I made it work because I already had the pages all done. Here's the rolling pin feature. And some cards on there. This one has a pocket with some cards and just a big card tag stamp taped to the back. This mixer is from the Cricut. This has a Bo Bunny spot on there for journaling. This oven I printed from the internet and then cut out. This one has some silverware I cut with the Cricut, and an index card, a tabbed card cut with the Cricut. There's another card I cut with the Cricut. I can put a recipe on that or use it for journaling. For this one, I used an apron that I cut with a Suburbia cartridge, and I glued it at the top and at the bottom, but this card can slide in there. And this is the book, like I showed you in the other book, the folder, I mean. And this card has a sideways pocket, and it says, "A family who bakes together stays together." Because Monica and I like to bake together. I bake with my other grandsons too, grandkids, but I started this one for her. She's the oldest one. These pot holders were cut with the Cricut. And this one is the waterfall one. I had these fluorescent cards that don't go very well with retro books, but it was pretty good for a young girl's book. And this one has a pocket with cards. So there's her book. So I hope you enjoyed looking at these books, and of course you can use these pocket page albums as just a mini album. They don't have to be recipe books. That's just the idea that I had to use the pocket pages for. And so I hope that this inspires you to be creative and make some heirlooms for your family. Tell me what you think. Leave comments, please. I'll see you later.